Yeah, okay, time to live free. Plenty goals I'm achieving. Some real life topics and talking financial freedom. Mindset, soul and love, everything in between. This is Freedom Podcast. Tune in, live free. Hey, got my mindset right and I got the drive. Planning one day, no more job, no more 9 to 5. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. This is freedom. Tune in, cause it's going down. Woo!
Welcome to another episode of Your Freedom Podcast. In this episode, I interview Douglas Levin, and Douglas was a professional drummer living in Chicago for around about 10 years before he started to kind of change his life, create more freedom for himself and start selling online. And he actually started selling on Amazon. There's a theme on my podcast because I've interviewed quite a few Amazon sellers. But yeah, he ended up selling on Amazon spare time in 2014, and he's done everything from Amazon arbitrage to selling wholesale to more recently private labeling. And he eventually got enough money coming in that him and his wife could work full-time for the company, which is fab. In preparation for the launch of his first brand, he actually became obsessed with chatbots and built up a messenger list of 20k subscribers, which actually led to a monthly sales of 20k within his first 3 months of launch. It's also helped him to start building his brand away from Amazon. So he knows everything about Amazon, everything about chatbots, but more importantly, he's created his life of freedom from being a professional drummer, living sort of day to day with income, to getting that freedom online. He lives in the suburbs with his wife and 2 stepsons, and I'm really, really excited about this interview. So thank you, Douglas, for giving me the time. Hi, Douglas. I'm really excited about this interview.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
I know we connected a short while ago, actually, having kind of done our Instagram group strategy, which has been fabulous because I've connected with all these great people online. Mm-hmm. I know you've had a really successful journey with your online marketing, and I just wanted to kind of ask you really initially to sort of introduce yourself of how you kind of got to this point of working online really and sharing it's your morning marketing. Have I got that right? It's the morning marketing, because you've got a YouTube channel, haven't you?
Yeah, morning marketing machine. Yeah,
machine. That was it.
Yeah.
I knew I was worked with. So how did this all come about?
I started in 2014, and at the time I didn't know anything at all about business. So I was basically, as I like to call it, a dumb drummer, as most drummers are. I was. That's the only job I ever had, honestly, was I was a drummer. I think I got paid a few times to be like, because I also did some recording. So I got paid for like session work and paid as like an engineer. But that was it. Other than that, I was only ever a musician. So I didn't know the first thing about business. And I had good credit though. So as a result of that, I got into like the miles and points world, where you'll get like free points, free cash back, that kind of thing. So from that, I would kind of get free trips out of it. And so like I took my now wife, then girlfriend and stepsons to like Ireland and other parts of Europe, things like that.
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty much what I was into at the time in 2014. And then some of those bloggers talked about basically selling your stuff online and being able to get free points out of it.
Right, I see. Okay, I can see the connection now. How you kind of.
Yeah.
Were you part of a group or a band or anything like that when you were doing that?
Yeah. I was a professional drummer, which is a weird thing to say, I guess, if you've been in music for a while. So I did a bunch of stuff. I did some musicals that I toured on. I was in a bunch of touring bands. The one that paid the bills for probably like 10 or 15 years was something called live band karaoke, where like we're the backing bands, and then we would play bars, we'd be colleges, corporate gigs, all that kind of stuff. And then people would sign up for the, I don't know, 200, 500, 600 songs or whatever it is that the band knew. And then they would come on, sign up and sing that song. So basically like just a cover band with like anyone could sing.
Fab. That sounds quite creative and exciting though. But I suppose when
Yeah,
you've done it for so many years, you kind of need a
oh,
bit of a change.
yeah. It was one of those things like when you get started with it, I think the first gig I got, I think I made like $63. And it was like so excited because I'm getting paid to play drums. It's awesome. And then after you've done it for like a few years, and then you're like, how many times do I have to play Don't Stop Believing to like 3 people in an empty bar? So it just kind of gets a little like, yeah, a little boring at that point. But
It's
yeah,
also like a
so
lot of lugging around of equipment and things like that.
oh yeah. I had this hardware case for like all the different pieces of hardware, and it was probably like 60, 70 pounds. And every gig, right? So like this is the thing as a drummer that's always so much fun, is that every gig you got to take it from wherever you have it, stick it in your car, and since I had that hardware case, it sat in the trunk. So like every gig, you would like to like lift it up, and then you have to lift it back out to set it up, and then at the end of the night, it's like 2 or 3 in the morning, and you're done, and now you got to break it all down and put it
Yeah.
in again. So like everyone's asleep, and at like 4 in the morning, you're having to lug all that stuff. So yeah, it was my arms got to work out all the time, so that was
Yeah, that's good.
good.
So yeah, so you then saw the bloggers that were kind of selling stuff.
Yeah. So they were talking about that, and then that's kind of what started me on the journey. So like I didn't think I was going to do anything other than 3 points, and then I think I had some stuff in my house that like because I'm not like a tech person, like a tech geek, but I do have a lot of like tech stuff, and I'm like I guess the typical like stereotypical male in terms of we like some of the electronics, that kind of thing. So I would have like a bunch of stuff like sitting in my closet or something that I somehow like acquired over the years that I just never opened.
Yeah.
So I kind of used that as a starting point, and like I would do fulfilled by merchant because I didn't know what I was doing, and I would like get something that sold, and then I would probably spend more money going to the post office to try and ship it
Yeah.
than I made because I didn't know what I was doing. But like I
Well, that's
got
how we all start, isn't it? That's how we
yeah,
all
oh
start.
yeah,
Isn't it?
yeah. But then from there, that's like, okay, I'm getting some sales now. I'm starting to understand how Amazon works. That's when I started to change it to FBA, started to actually like go to like big box stores like Walmart and Target, those kind of places, and like do arbitrage. And from there, I kind of went on to arbitrage for a while, wholesale, and then I've mostly been in private label for the last couple of years.
Yeah. So it was funny when you were saying about your drumming and things. I was thinking because a while ago I worked with a guy who was quite musical, and he was doing things like guitar strings and I know the straps for guitars and just sort of like different accessories for the music thing. So was that the initial kind of niche that you went into, or did what do you focus on now with your kind of products that you're selling and brands?
Right. Honestly, I've never really had any success trying to do anything with music. Um, I think when I first started, like first started, I didn't even think about it, honestly. This is the kind of like I never really like to even say the word entrepreneur, but I guess I'm technically an entrepreneur. But this is the kind of entrepreneur I am. Like since I have no history at all with business, I was even having this conversation with my wife sometimes. There's things that she'll think of, and it never connects with me. Like it's like the simple thing where you're like, oh yeah, it works here. Then you probably just make that transition and you do the same thing here and it works, right? And like probably like 95% of business owners probably make that connection. I don't. It's always like a thing. I'm like, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that? Or I feel like an idiot or whatever it is. Like that's how my journey is. So I'm always like making a ton of mistakes that like I don't ever have that just thought process that comes to mind. It's always kind of like basically figuring something out because I don't know what to do.
Learn by doing in some respects kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's sometimes one of the best ways, because I think a lot of people, especially new people that kind of start on Amazon, get everything lined up. It's like the person that does this beautiful website and then never actually gets going, or try and get everything perfect before they get stuck in. And I'm always like, just get one product going, and you can learn so much by doing. There's only so much theory you can analyze and get. Everything doesn't work out perfectly anyway. Just learn by doing. So.
Oh yeah, big time. I know that's one of the things that I guess I've never had an issue with. I guess because I've been since I was
Yeah.
13 or 14 years old, I would get in front of people and I just didn't care. So it was always like, I guess that ready, fire, aim approach has suited me pretty well. So
Yeah.
I know the issue sometimes for me is more like the refining point. You're like, you want to do it and then you get started, but then like everyone needs to actually like focus on the one thing. I would have shiny object syndrome or something where like
Yeah.
you would get started and then you would do it for a little bit and then you would have some success with it. And then you're like, well, hey, here's this other cool thing over here.
Yeah, exactly. Get distracted.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you about whether you always knew that you were going to be an entrepreneur or wanted to be an entrepreneur, but in some respects, with your background with doing the music stuff, you were kind of already an entrepreneur. You were already sort of managing, you maybe you had kind of ventures where you were working jointly with someone or were freelancing, I don't know, but it sounds like, I just know from other musicians that you've always kind of like looked after number one sort of and juggle things. I don't know if you've always maybe not been in like a traditional job, so probably didn't see that big transition. I don't know. Did you always feel that you kind of had that entrepreneurial spark about you?
See, like I never think of myself that way at all. Like I've always like I've identified more like Tom Bilyeu is one of my like the people that I really look up to that I've kind of identified with lately. And I've never thought of myself as an entrepreneur at all. I guess like looking back on it, like because I love being on podcasts. I love it. Like obviously like you've talked about like my show as well, and like the more I talk to people, like I guess there is some of that connection that I never really thought about in terms of like the music background where you're kind of putting yourself out there. And it is, I guess, a different kind of a way of looking at the world, I guess, that entrepreneurs do as well. But I've always kind of looked at it as completely different, I guess. I've never really like put them together because I like obviously I guess I was in a lot of regards, I was like one of the top 10 or 1% or whatever you would call it, because I actually made a living at music. But most musicians are honestly pretty lazy, pretty flaky, pretty like, they're having a really hard time in terms of like paying the bills. Like,
Yeah.
So I don't really like draw that, I guess, correlation to like entrepreneurs, but I mean, it is definitely very different than just a typical 9-to-5 kind of a job or someone who's doing that. So I guess there are some similarities definitely.
I remember, it's funny because I remember when I first left uni and I went into a corporate career and I moved to a city from the north of England to like the Midlands. I didn't know anybody, and I connected with a guy that I knew from years and years ago from the old town that I lived in, and he was a drummer. We ended up sharing a house together because I was still sort of like in that student thing and couldn't afford to pay all my bills probably. And I saw him with that. It's kind of like he was like hustling, I would say, that to try and make do. And then I think his band got like a contract with producing site, and then his income then became more steady for a while. Right. But I think the kind of our skill sets from being an entrepreneur with that kind of, like you say, a lot of musicians struggle, don't they, financially? And they're more focused on that creative side of things rather than maybe finances. But yeah, I think it's so different than like a 9-to-5 job, isn't it? Because you're doing something that you love, but then it may become that you end up doing things for money that you don't love, like you say, playing the same music, 3 people in a bar or whatever. But you probably had some skill sets that you didn't recognize that kind of prepared you for becoming like an online entrepreneur, really.
Oh yeah. And there was one thing too, like in terms of as a musician, like I know when we were doing it, it does come back to the same thing you were talking about with your pay. Honestly, like I was never used to, okay, I'm getting $5,000 a month. I'm getting $5,000 every month. I can rely on that, and that's what it is. And it's the same thing when you're doing business. You don't know, like you have estimates, right? You're making forecasts, and you're like, all right, well, we sold 1,000 units this month. We're probably going to sell 1,000. We sold an average of 1,000 the last 3 or 4 months. We can probably project things and go from there. But you never know. It's not a guarantee. And it's the same with music too. Like I would look at my schedule sometimes. I'm like, all right, well, I think I got enough to pay the bills here or whatever it is. And I guess I was one of the very different ones in terms of like I had built up a little bit of a savings. So like I wasn't as bad if like if gigs dried up overnight and
Yeah.
I was left with no money for like a month or two or something.
Mm.
Then I wouldn't be on the street. But it's the same kind of thing with business. I mean, we're if we have that best-selling product that's selling, I don't know, 50 units a day or something, and then all of a sudden like Amazon screws something up, or you got a black hat seller, or
Yeah.
whatever it is, you could be screwed, or Amazon suspend you, or whatever it is that happens. Like
Exactly. Nothing's
overnight, you could just
consistent,
have
is it,
something.
really? Yeah. You've got to be prepared. And also things that have happened recently with the current environment with COVID,
Yeah.
it kind of changes things up a bit, and you've just got to be on it, really, as regards to different things that are happening. But when you look back maybe to your old world, the entertainment industry has had a massive hit through
Oh,
this, hasn't
yeah,
it?
it's been terrible. Yeah, like I still talk to a few friends every once in a while, and they're in terrible shape now. It's really depressing, so sad in terms of how it is, and like the only, I guess, saving grace at this point is like everyone's pretty much filing for unemployment, and obviously in the States, I mean, they're still able to at least survive, but yeah, it's been terrible.
Yeah. And I bet you've looked back and thought you're so grateful that you sort of changed your kind of way of working when you kind of think about what's happened with because it is pretty sad, I think, I think I can see it happening here in the UK with friends that I know, whether they're in hospitality or just anything with events, it's just taken a massive hit.
Yeah, yeah. I think I thought of it probably like I had already pretty much gotten out. But I think my mom called me one day because she came across an article or something talking about all of the service industry and musicians and stuff that were pretty much out of work now. And she's like, "Well, you got out a good time." I'm like, "Yeah, like I guess I got that lucky in that regard." But
Yeah.
yeah.
So in the Freedom podcast, we talk about 3 pillars: love, money, and mind, and freedom in all of those. And sort of taking that into consideration, like what challenges have you had as regards to kind of, building your business online? Because I'm sure it's not all been perfectly plain sailing.
God no.
Nothing ever is,
Yeah, yeah. I still make like 50,000 mistakes a day, and as like I was saying, as someone who doesn't really have a business background, like I'm not the type of typical person who's going to make those connections and do the things you probably should at first. Yeah, like I talked a little bit earlier about like I started with arbitrage and then I went to wholesale, and like I know one of the issues I had was like we got our first exclusive on Amazon and I was like all excited, and then it was like kind of like a pallet or two, I can't remember exactly how many, but of energy drinks, and it was shipped in the middle of the winter, and then we used Amazon Partner Carrier, and Amazon just of course decides to leave it out for like 2 or 3 days in the dead of winter, and all of the energy drinks crack.
Wow.
And it was like a $20,000 order. So like like as a musician, I was making 18 grand. So like I'm spending more money than I made in a year on one shipment, and like Amazon saying, oh yeah, basically you're screwed, and you get to pay to return it because it's all like trash now.
Yeah.
So like I'm talking to the brand, I'm talking to Amazon, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
So like that was a very stressful time for me specifically, where like I've kind of told this before, where like I would like this kind of gets into the mindset piece of it too. Like as someone who doesn't know anything at all about business, I would always think I would have that imposter syndrome. I would think always I'm a fraud, that everyone's going to figure me out. I shouldn't be doing this. And then when that happened, and like I've done all this work, right? It's been however many years it was that I've been selling on Amazon. And now I'm finally to this point of like everything's going to be unicorns and rainbows. And then this happens, and now like I couldn't take it. And I shut down. Like there's days I should have been working. I was just like laying in bed, where like I would just like kind of curl up, and then there was nights when I should have been asleep and I couldn't sleep because I was just so stressed out. Like, what am I going to do? Like, is my business going to go under? Like, what am I going to do? Like, at this point, like, I like that kind of thing would basically happen for like weeks where like I didn't know what I was going to do. So I mean, that was like like one of those points where like,
Well,
I
the
know for me it
first one,
was,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. That was one of the points that I always remember where like, all right, it's not fun a lot of
Yeah,
times. And
we
you
got, I
got
think we all have one of those ones. Mine one is selling hoverboards that were all exploding,
to.
and Amazon sending emails to my customers saying, "Just dispose of the item, you'll get a full refund." And I was like, "They're £130 a unit." I was like, it's the first time I've actually telephoned customers through
Mhm.
Amazon because sometimes people have strategies to actually contact customers, and I've always felt that if you buy online, you don't want to be contacted. That's the
Mhm.
whole, because I buy on Amazon and things. I'm like, I don't want to talk to a. I just want to buy. So
Oh
I've
yeah.
never kind of followed those strategies of like following up on customers with kind of phone calls, things like that. But that was the first time that I did, because I was like, I need to explain to the customer exactly, our kind of the legal documents we've got to kind of show the quality of these items, and that Amazon are doing this because of a legal thing, and just give the customer a choice. But if they don't want the item, to return it,
Mhm.
I lost a few along the way because there's always sort of scammers that just want to kind of seize an opportunity. But yeah, that was one of my, I think we've all got one of those testing moments where you can see a huge investment could easily just fall off a cliff.
Oh yeah.
But you learn so much from it as well for the future, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And that really comes down to the thing of us as business owners. I mean, we are always doing something that we've never done before, um, and since we don't know about it, we don't know what we're doing. Yes, someone else has probably done something similar, or you can look to, or whatever the case is, but you've never done it before. So for you, it's like the end of the world when it doesn't work, and you're trying to figure out what do you do, and like that's why so many business people fail is like
Yeah.
they they look at that fork in the road, that setback, and then their mind isn't right, and they're not. At least I don't know if I should say mind is right, but they have a negative mindset. They're not looking at the
Yeah.
problem from a perspective of what, all right, this sucks. I don't want to have this setback, but I can either dwell on it and let it cripple me and let this take over my life, or like I did for 3 weeks, or I can look at it, all right, well, what can I do? Like is it a
Exactly. There's
plan that,
always a solution, isn't it? I think
yeah, oh
that's what
yeah.
I say to a lot of my students. There's always a solution, and that's what's great to be put a part of a community. And I think we've developed a bit of a community with our like Instagram thing, and there's sort of I've been this last couple of years I've started getting involved more with other other Amazon sellers or other e-commerce sellers, or just connecting with other experts and different things like that. And I think you gain so much from that, actually, because you kind of create your own online community, so that then if there are problems, everyone's got different skill sets, and you can always reach out to someone and try and get a solution and just learn from others as well.
Right.
So I think that's really cool about what we've sort of developed with connecting and networking with other people, really.
Yeah, yeah. It's really been great in terms of I love that, like, and this is honestly one of the reasons I love, like, in terms of like obviously being on your show, like having people on my show, and like kind of the networking aspects, and
Mm,
even with like obviously the virus affecting everything, it's been great in terms of like, because we can't go to conferences, we can't do
mm.
anything, but you're able to, like, it gets back to like Facebook groups and other stuff too, where you're still able to connect with people, you build those relationships, and like the more and more I see, like, obviously I've been at it with Amazon specifically for 6 years, and you see how small it is, honestly, like compared to
Yeah.
other kind of outlets. So like you see the same people all the time. Like obviously there's going to be people that go away for whatever reason, but like you've been at it for a while. Like I see a ton of people that have been at it for a while, and you start to see them all the time, and you
Yeah,
start to build those
exactly.
relationships. So
Yeah, exactly. It's cool, and it's funny actually, because you see the people, what people that have sort of been a while, that they see that are still there. Kind of that's kind of like just a 2 or 3 years to be around on Amazon is actually quite a long time, because, like you say, a lot of people do give up quite soon if something doesn't work. And I talk about mindset a lot, just because of personal issues that I've had and challenges along the way, that I know that having that, you can have just different perceptions on days. Probably those days where you were feeling like you were going to give up, or this is like the end of the world. Then suddenly, it's like music, isn't it? Music can really affect our mindset. It can kind of really uplift us, or it can actually bring us really down if we're in that place. And it's funny how different perceptions on different days can just be so different. How you can have like a really bad day, like I did last week when I had all my internet problems, and then the next day you're kind of jumping around, everything's working and everything's flowing right. So mindset, I think, is so important to keep going, and actually a community of people, or just networking with one person, can kind of support you and help you, especially especially online, because I think sometimes online it can be quite lonely if you don't network really. Because you're not going into like a physical building with work, it's just you at home with your laptop type of thing. I think It's important to kind of find other people to network with.
Well, and it's the other part of, since you're the boss, it's up to you to have that discipline to keep working every day.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I've kind of been taking the thought, because a lot of people always have that thought of, oh, I've always got to grind. I've got to grind. I don't care if I'm feeling terrible. I got to just get this done or anything like that. And sometimes that leads to really like bad productivity. Like sometimes you need to take an hour or a day or whatever it is. If it's feeling that bad for whatever reason, you can't be productive. There's nothing saying that you can't go out for a walk or exercise or whatever it is that basically does it for you, so that you can kind of get yourself out of that funk. I mean, everyone is different, but I mean, we're not going to have those great days. Like to assume you're going to have 5 amazing days a week where I'm going to be at my best and I'm going to get everything done and it's going to be perfect, is just kind of like you're just living in a fantasy world.
Exactly. Which brings me on to, how do you, if you mentioned there about having, I suppose, time for you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, because I think sometimes life is busy, isn't it? How do you balance and make sure that you've got sort of time for your family and time for you to kind of not be so in, because I think sometimes, like you say, when you're working for yourself, I know I've done it before, where I've been working late at night or just been working too much really and not spending enough time with the boys. So any tips you want to share of how you sort of balance things?
Oh, well, I was terrible at it for a really long time, actually. Like, at least in, like, I would say everyone's different. It depends on your situation. Like, do you have any family? What are your goals? Like, I was, for like the longest time, I was basically doing it where my personal life was, or my personal life would just lead into my business life, where basically my business was the focus, and then everything else kind of got pushed aside a lot. And it wasn't until I read 12-Week Year where like I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. I shouldn't be doing it this way. Like I'm getting this all wrong, at least for me. I was like I said, everyone's different.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own vision of what you want your life to be like. But I read that. It was actually pretty recently where I read it. And like obviously, and I've been selling online for like 5-6 years at that point. And I just kind of had it backwards. And the idea, at least that I came up with that book, is like, what is your vision for your life? What do you want your life to be like? And then everything else, including your business, has to be like that. So it has to serve your purpose. So that's when I made the shift for me. So like now, like I'm in the 12-week year, and I schedule out time, and my wife gives me crap sometimes about like, oh, you're scheduling us in or something. But like I know that like the idea of like a work-life balance for me is like, it's this kind of like mythical thing that a lot of times is really hard. So I'll try as much as I can. It's like, all right, if I'm scheduling like 3 hours for a family game night, then I'm turning off my phone. I'm not dealing with Amazon or Shopify or my messenger list or whatever it is. They can all go away for a while. I don't care. I'm focusing on spending time with my family, or that kind of thing. Or like, all right, well, I'm working on this project for, I've got a 3 to 5 hour block or whatever it is that I've scheduled out. Then I'm not going to really talk to anybody. I'm going to be focusing on that. So it's just being completely in whatever it is that I'm focusing on at that time.
Yeah, because I actually think it's really difficult to do that as well sometimes, because it's with all like the social media interactions and distractions. There's always things that try and interrupt us, whichever it is, isn't it? Whether you're spending time on you and your personal life and family, or whether you're even trying to do some work in a project, there's always ways that people can try and, well, not people, but you get interrupted with different things. It's easy to get distracted in this digital world. But yeah, it's good that you kind of got that balance, which I think is it. Yeah, we're all not perfect. We all probably get distracted from time to time, but it's good that you kind of got better at it, because I think it's difficult sometimes when you are working for yourself.
Yeah.
So as regards to because there could be somebody listening to this who has come from like the entertainment industry or is a musician, could be going through a bit of a hard time right now, as we've discussed in this current sort of climate.
Mhm.
Any tips you want to share with them about how to get online, or how to kind of just start a business generally online, really?
Well, I don't know if I ever did it the best way. I like the idea from it seems to keep coming up sometimes. Like Gary Vee, he did this one post where he was basically saying, like, if you got no money, there's still no excuse, because you can use like Facebook Marketplace and other kind of things like that to just sell stuff.
Yeah.
But I think honestly, in terms of getting started, I don't really look at it from the perspective of it's that complicated. I mean, and this is coming from someone, like I said, who didn't know the first thing about business. I think honestly, like, it comes down to your mindset, and it comes down to wanting to learn. So like I was not a reader at all when I started. Like I still, like I said this before, I still remember in the second grade I was supposed to read a book called Bridge to Terabithia, and I never read it, just because I hated the idea of
That
reading so
sounds
much.
like me. I was a bit like that.
Oh yeah.
I used to avoid any reading.
Oh yeah, yeah. It wasn't until like the last like 6 to 12 months that I was like, all right, I'm gonna get into this, and like that has made a huge impact on my life and on my business. Just the idea of like you can look at it from, all right, Bezos has got a book out, Warren Buffett's got a book out, like Elon Musk, John Rockefeller, like all these people have books, and then there's self-help books, business development books, all these other things where they're giving you the way to cut your learning curve like in half and not make the same mistakes that they did. And it costs you, if you go to the library, it's free. If you want to go on Audible or something, it costs you like $5-10 or whatever it is. It's not much. And like I would say, like, to anyone who's getting started with that, spending time reading like that, I really wish I would have done it when I got started, because I would have kind of put myself in a much better situation than I did when I got started. I would have probably been where I am now in probably like 2 years, maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
And
Then, there are some good books, aren't there, as regards to like giving you the kind of strategies for business online, and also like again the whole mindset stuff, isn't it? Keeps you kind of resilient with stuff. I think. Is there any kind of things you can recommend that have maybe your couple of recommendations regards to books that you think you'd like to share?
There's so many at this point. From a
Give them
business
all.
standpoint, from a business standpoint, one of the books I love is Ultimate Sales Machine. Like Chet Holmes wrote it. He's an amazing marketer. It gives you so many different starting points on sales and marketing. Obviously, when everyone talks about Think and Grow Rich, that's like one of the staples that obviously you got to read. There's probably others. Those are the ones that are coming to mind right now. And then there's just self-help development stuff. Like, I was terrible with morning routines, and I read Miracle Morning, and that helped me a lot in terms of like getting your mind right. Where like there's 6 things you're going to do every day, every morning. And this is coming from someone that would sleep until 1 or 2 in the afternoon every day. Or like now I've been trying to get up at 5 in the morning every day.
It's the musician in you. It's ingrained, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Nights and sleeping in. But then that's really good. That's really good, because I definitely think routines have really helped me. With kind of I have this 3 things that I need to get done because I used to just do all these long lists and it was ridiculous. It's like, there's no way. I actually believed I could get them all done in one day and there was no way that I'd get it. And so like 3/4 of it would get rolled over to the next day. It just keep going and going and going.
Mhm.
And some things would never even get done. Do
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? So I do this sort of break it down into 3 things, but I've not read that. But what was it again? What was the one that you recommended about routines?
Oh, Miracle Morning.
Miracle morning.
Yeah,
Okay.
it basically says like it's 6 things to do every morning. It's more about your mind. So like reading, exercise, meditation.
Yeah.
I can't think of like there's the other three, but I won't go into it's crazy detail. But yeah, when you're talking about the 3 things too, though, like that's the one thing like when we overestimate what we can do in a day. Like there's a book called The One Thing. Like I took that, and one of my mentors he talked about combining one thing and Ultimate Sales Machine. And so like the idea is that you plan out 6 things that you want to do every day, but you do your most important thing first. So like the with
Like
I
eat
think
the frog, eat that frog. I don't know if you've read that
yeah,
book.
yeah, and if you do it first, I mean, say whatever time you start work, you want to start work at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like your first thing of that day is your most important thing. So then you're like, all right, I don't do anything else the rest of the day. Like I because I'm a business owner, I'm putting out fires the rest of the day, whatever it is. I still made progress. I still like I'm doing something that's going to help my business going forward, to progress and grow. And it can just be simply one thing. I mean, obviously, yeah, it's great to do 10 things a day or 5 things a day or whatever it is, but you just need one, and then
Yeah.
you'll feel much better about yourself, and you'll start to get where you want to go.
Yeah, brilliant. That's good. Good share. So as regards to like successes, what has been your, I suppose, like proudest moment with working online so far?
Actually, my proudest moment is not my proudest moment. It is my wife. It is something that happened to my wife, because um, uh, we've been doing private label now for like a couple of years, and uh, she's the face of one of the brands, and um, like I use chatbots a lot, and we had a customer that reached out to us for something, and I honestly don't even remember what it was, but we were responding, and like I think she was in the same room as me or something when we were responding. It was probably some typical kind of customer question or something, and then she told me what she wanted to be said, or she wrote it back. I don't remember exactly, but and then the person responded saying like, "Oh, are you her? Like, are you like the person from the company, like the face of the company?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, that's me." And then the person like freaked out and was like thinking like she was this amazing celebrity, like Rihanna or something. And it's like we're looking at each other like, okay, like what's going on? So like we had this like huge impact in this person's life, this customer's life. And,
Yeah.
like, we didn't think anything like that when we were getting started. It was just, okay, we're going to get started. We've got this idea of something for a private label thing, and we did it. And and now we made this huge impact in someone's life, and they're like thinking this amazing thing. It was just, it felt really good in terms of like
Yeah.
to be able to do something like that for somebody. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the great thing about this business is that you can do, like I see people that go for kind of, they're analyzing products with all the softwares like Helium 10 or Jungle Scout or whatever, and they're literally just purely going for like the profitable products. And obviously we've got to look at numbers and all that kind of thing. But I think
Mhm.
there's a real sense of purpose when you develop something that develops a solution for a problem, and then when you see your product be live on Amazon or on your own Shopify site or wherever, you can be really proud of that creation. Really, that's probably like the creative side, and kind of the, you're like, wow, that's mine, that's my brand. And getting that kind of feedback as well from someone,
Yeah.
is really, I think it's just really rewarding.
Oh
um,
yeah, 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 and that comes back to the idea too. I mean, I know that like a lot of people are more Amazon sellers, but this is I guess how I approach it, and this is I guess what I learned from the world of marketing is honestly anytime you're ever coming up with any type of product or anything you're doing, it's always about the idea of how can I help somebody solve their problem. That's all it
yeah,
ever is. So like any product that you're trying to create, if you go at it from the perspective of all right, what problems is my whatever your niche is having, and how can I solve that? then you'll like, because everyone always talks about like, well, I don't know what to sell, I don't know what to do, any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean the software is out there definitely help you want to validate your idea, but if you're always looking at it from that perspective of like spend time in the group, spend like understand who your ideal customer is, and just focus on what can I do to help them, then products will happen. You'll find them a lot easier that way.
Yeah.
And then you're actually doing a service for people. You're not just, I want to sell my widget and make $1 million.
Exactly.
You're actually doing something that's going to help out like a ton of people, and obviously you're going to feel good, and then they're going to feel good, and they're going to love you, and now you're actually like building something more than just make money online kind of thing.
Yeah. And then that's when you can get that celebrity stardom where you get that cool feedback from I love that stuff. It's fab. So we'll round things up now. I always ask the question at the end of my podcast interviews around freedom, because obviously it's called Your Freedom Podcast. So what does freedom mean to you, Douglas?
So to me, it's the idea that I can spend time with my family, that I can honestly work whenever I want to, that I'm not, I guess, shackled or whatever the term is. Like, there's days I'm just not feeling it, and I can go and I can, if I want to, I can play video games all day. I can, when we're planning family trips, whenever we can plan family trips, that I can hopefully take like 2-3 weeks off, and me and my family can go somewhere. Like, that I'm not always struggling to pay the next set of bills. That I have that freedom that I can provide for my stepsons when I'm not there anymore. Like that's the idea, that like that's what it means to me. That
yeah.
And then also selfishly, I guess, like other part of it, and I look at it as kind of like my purpose too, is that selfishly I feel satisfaction when I can, like, freedom means being able to help other people. That I'm not just kind of stuck in my own little world where like I got to work like all the time, but I can help people as well that have been in that same situation that I have. That because I selfishly feel very good when I'm able to help somebody when they're having that same struggle, because I've had that. I've had it and I still have it where like we were saying earlier, like just because it's something that 5 million people have done doesn't mean I've done it. So like you're hitting your head against this wall trying to figure out how to get past it. And if I've been there for somebody else and I can help them get past it, then I'm gonna feel good about that. And I know that they're gonna level up. And so like that's what I think of when I think of in terms of freedom and what that means. Like that's what I look at.
Yeah, love it. So if there is a drummer that is looking to change, or looking to build a business online, how do they get to find more about what you're doing? Because I know you got your own show. Is there any we can share the links as well in the show comments, and we put it on YouTube as well, so I can share them in there if you send them to me. But how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah. And thank you again for having me on too. So anyone that's listening that wants to learn more, say about chatbots, marketing, any of that kind of stuff, they can contact me on Facebook at Douglas Levin for a free cheat sheet. The top 5 tips for taking full control over your e-commerce income. Obviously, as Anna was talking about, I've got a channel, Morning Marketing Machine, where I've got podcasts and a lot of content, all that kind of stuff. I've also got a free Facebook group, Amazon Seller Secrets. And if there's any other way I can help out at all, please feel free to reach out and let me know.
Brilliant. Great stuff. Well, it's great to have you on the show. Really appreciate your time. And it's great to know you a little bit better as well. So thanks, Douglas.
All right, thank you.
Hey, thank you for listening. Hope you had a blast. Here to elevate your life. It's the Freedom Podcast. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. Wanna see you all win. Wanna see you all shine. Just make sure that you subscribe. Bringing good vibes. Join the Facebook group. Now it's time to change your life. Hope you come back. Right now is the chance. This is an experience. It's the Freedom Podcast.